Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today in partnership with OneMagnify. My name's Neil Perry and I'm Managing Editor here at Manufacturing Digital magazine. Now today's session is called How to Leverage AI to Unlock Optimal Customer Experiences. So let's dig into that a little bit first about exactly what we're talking about today. Because AI, frankly, it seems to be at the very heart of every single conversation at the moment in some way or another. I can guarantee you the number of press releases I see come across my desk on any given day, you can pretty much find the word AI in every single one of them. Well, today we're looking at how to integrate AI into a customer experience strategy. What we're aiming to do today is bring together a series of use cases to show how AI can be used to totally transform a customer journey in the manufacturing industry. So we've got 5 key aims to try and cover off in the next 45 minutes or so. That's our challenge. And they're to illustrate how manufacturers can use AI to do some of the following things: enhance end-to-end customer experiences, strengthen B2B customer personas with better targeting, refine core audience segmentation with real precision, evaluate marketing content tailored to specific segments, and finally, optimize customer outreach for improved engagement and results. So those are our targets. You can judge us by that at the end of the next 45 minutes or so. But obviously I can't do that on my own, and I'm very happy to be joined by some real expertise in this particular sector. I'm joined by Jonathan Prantner, Chief Analytics Officer at OneMagnify, and Steve Farr, Chief Digital Officer, also at OneMagnify. Welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for the opportunity. Really excited to chat today.
Yeah, you're very welcome indeed. So I understand you've got a presentation, some points you want to go through, which I may jump in and out of if I feel the need. But we do have some audience questions already pre-submitted that we can go through at the end. And you know what? If we've got time, I will throw a few in of my own at the end. So less of me, more of you. I'll hand the virtual floor over to you, and I look forward to your presentation.
All right. So let's start just with some introductions. We've already covered the agenda. So I'm Steve Farr, Chief Digital Officer here at OneMagnify. We're going to keep this session informational, educational. We'll just give a background of sort of who we are, briefly 30 seconds on who OneMagnify is, and get right into the content here. So I've spent my 25 years in academia, client side, agency side, really around this, leveraging customer data and content to create transformational customer experiences for companies. So love doing that in partnership with Jonathan Prantner, our analytics officer. The two of us really together bring that deep analytics into the activation world. And really it's the yin and yang, or the art and science, as we like to say, of customer relationships.
Great. And then I'm Jonathan Prantner. I'm excited to be joining today. So Chief Analytics Officer here at OneMagnify. Started my career back in warranty operations. Really had a big focus on, media, customer analytics through the years. So really excited to dive into how this can play in the manufacturing space.
Great. So 30 seconds on OneMagnify. Our aim really is to help clients create optimal customer experiences through digital transformation. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Really in a snapshot view, we're 700 people strong across the globe. We work with various tech partners to bring about digital transformation, and work with top, Fortune 500 A-list clients across the globe. Just set the stage for why do we think this is an important topic. Really, that customer experience first and foremost is really a key area of competition and source of differentiation today. A few years ago, it was about half of customers competed on customer experience. Now we're seeing it's about 2/3 of companies are in the space where they're really competing primarily on customer experience. We know that that started in B2C, a lot of that shift enabled by mobile technology that's advanced to cloud computing and now to AI. And B2B is really following fast, in the path of B2C. And we see that, I see this tension in the stat of 74% of buyers expecting customers to offer an omni-channel experience, but only 27% currently are excellent at delivering that. So there's that natural tension and that need for transformation of the industry and meeting those customer expectations. And then I think in the end, sort of setting the stage here, really see that personalization is really going to be the key to success. Customers really expect that same level of customization and personalization that we're experiencing in our personal lives, that consumerization of the workforce and the workspace that we really expect B2B buying processes start to work really as efficiently and seamlessly as we experience as consumers. So, this brings us to the sort of evolving landscape in B2B. Really first how AI has really changed our concept of how we communicate to customers. So in manufacturing, industrials companies have very long, followed a traditional buying model, sales, trade shows, lead follow-up. While behind the scenes, there's been all this great technology and engineering in the actual product they create. So really AI, we see really bringing that technical expertise that's sat in the back and engineering and product world right up to the front to really help transform the customer experiences. So that starts with really deep AI-driven customer segmentation. So companies can really deeply understand the wants and needs of their customers and prospects. And then really to then layer personalization on top of that to really bring unique, relevant one-to-one experiences based on who that target is, where they're at in their buying journey, what set of products or services they may need, and what content they've consumed to sort of show the signals of their next likely step. Also important to note, from efficiency, obviously in today's economy, efficiency, margins are always important and under pressure. So we really see AI as a really good accelerant to help automate processes, workflows, configuring, pricing, and quoting complex products. Quite often that takes a lot of manual offline effort and is opaque to the customer. AI we really see as a great technology to really bring those processes to the customer, make it more transparent and faster and easier to conduct commerce with companies. So having set that up, we're really talking about some of the key areas here where we see AI shaping B2B marketing, certainly the land of experiences, websites, apps, AI recommendation systems, definitely optimizing digital ads, marketing automation, lead management. We'll talk a little bit more in depth here in a minute about that. And then research and monitoring. We're going to give a great use case of some customers we've worked with to really bring those advanced analytics to get that real-time monitoring of what's going on, not only with your customers, but in the marketplace that you compete in. Also, SEO and content, certainly this is an area, with generative AI that's really at the forefront of what's being transformed here. The old modes of search engine optimization are now being challenged with a lot of different ways that users are starting their search, be it a GPT sort of platform or a social platform like a TikTok, many different channels now where that are the sort of first step in the customer's search for a solution. In design, really accelerating the way we make UX adjustments for the customer, and commerce, both offline and e-commerce. Really see that AI is bringing, chatbots, virtual assistants to help really streamline and smooth that process and accelerate, the decision journey from sort of consideration into end purchase. And would like to talk just a second here about benefits, sort of bring it on home to, okay, great, huge landscape for where we can apply AI. So if we talk about, where some of the benefits are from applying AI, certainly there's first in relevance, delivering those personalized messages to customers is going to improve your conversion rate and your ROI on advertising, reducing the information overload to really help customers, navigate right to the information that's appropriate for them where they are in that stage, helps to improve your customer experience online. To improve lead prioritization and align sales resources to working the highest quality leads and reducing complexity in the buying journey. So just some high level benefits. We're going to give you a few use cases here in a minute. But first, just talk about the challenges. If this were easy, we'd all be doing it now. So we see that clients struggle with a few key things, really 4 areas that we see the main pain points here in integrating AI into B2B marketing practices. First is data. To build really good models, you need really high quality data. You need a depth of understanding of the data for the analysts that are building the models. And quite often, this exists in monolithic old databases, systems that aren't integrated together. So this sort of left-hand side here talks a lot about, just getting the house in order around data and systems to be able to create that single view of a customer and their buying journey. Definitely talent and skill gaps are an issue. This is a hot space. Talent's in demand. So getting that talent to be able to mine the data and then apply it in real time is really a challenge. And then data privacy, security have to be, privacy and security first in this space, operate within, brand constraints around, where they want to share information and building GPTs. Again, just another step in the complexity of the privacy and security landscape. And to overcome these, we see that it's going to take investment. So we always recommend to customers to really start with a business case, get the stakeholder investment, the executive buy-in in the investment that's going to be made, and then create some milestones around what the payoff is going to be, and really work towards putting some points on the board early in your transformation program. Taking some of the use cases, and we'll go into a couple that we believe are really good low-hanging fruit to start, and really show the value of the investment to help guide some additional investment over time along the transformation journey. All right, so with that sort of stage setting, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan here, talk about one of our first use cases.
Thank you, Steve. So as we look into the way in which AI can really impact that customer experience in the manufacturing space, the place that we want to start is really around audience segmentation. And so when we're incorporating AI into a strategy of that format, it's really all about beginning with the concept of the customer experience, because that experience of the customer really depends a lot on where you are within your digital journey. And it's focused on understanding the customer. And with that, it starts with audience segmentation and targeting. So in the B2B space, this is something which is especially important because we know, quite frankly, that compared to B2C, there's fewer folks that we're targeting. So we want to be able to make sure that that message is tailored not only to their organization, but also to their role within that organization, how we can make our messaging resonate for that. From the AI side, this allows us to really create these dynamic segments when the concept is going forward with, the right message to the right customer at the right time. So being able to identify different patterns that we're seeing across different purchasing personas and being able to create the appropriate audience segments so we can reach out to them regardless of where they are within their journey. And so this comes together in a way that we're able to then customize our offers. We're able to improve engagement and conversion rates that we see with folks interacting with kind of our media or the other channels that we're putting in market to help guide them through that journey. And so from this, one of the concepts that we're going to be talking about quite a bit is surrounding the voice of the customer, because when we are looking at that and being able to understand the right customer at the right time, we need to be able to identify their needs, preferences, and pain points that they have throughout the process. And we have a threefold approach that we take that we're going to dive into in a minute, which explains how we address that. And so in the B2B space, there's once again that added wrinkle because, being able to access those decision makers, being able to navigate those procurement processes is different really from, the B2C side where we're shepherding people through to an experience. Here we have to shepherd them not only their interest, but then to be able to understand the speed at which we want that to progress and to be able to automate the processes that we have so that we don't lose them throughout that purchase funnel. With some of the generative AI techniques that are available now, as was mentioned earlier, AI has become the hot topic. everyone in the last kind of 18 months is looking for how AI can improve their organization. And we're going to talk a little bit about some examples that we have around how content creation and personalized recommendation engines can really work hand in hand so that we're able to generate something that resonates with our customers and also adapts as they respond. And so when we think about these pieces coming together, it really goes into, understanding if we're having landing pages, what our customers are looking for in market, and how we can really pull all of these pieces together. And so a great case study that we have on this is really understanding our customers and the different value that we see. So this is work that we've done before in the automotive space. And so being able to first understand the kind of purchase intent of customers, but also simultaneously looking at their value, because ultimately it costs more than 3 times as much to acquire a new customer as it is to retain an existing customer. And with customers that we have in market, they tend to be less price sensitive. So we see less price elasticity that we have there from non-owners. This translates into the B2B space because if we're delivering consistently for a client, if we're able to show in the manufacturing work that is being done, that work becomes very sticky. It becomes an integrated part of the organization. So what we were able to do in the automotive space is to pull together a framework where we're starting to really dynamically segment these customers. So by looking at their past purchase behavior, understanding what types of vehicles they're purchasing, and then also, very importantly, looking at significant experiences throughout that ownership. So if there were issues related to quality, if there were issues related to timing, how that then informs their relationship. So using that, not only what we've seen with them from purchasing, what we've seen with them in terms of likely future opportunities, but also understanding throughout the process. So being able to really close the loop on the feedback that we're getting from customers, along with the kind of predictive value that we can see within those. And so we were able to deploy this within a manufacturer, looking at this in a very long timeline. So looking at kind of that 10-year retention rate. So across that time period, being able to pull those learnings together in a way that would inform not only the marketing that we had, but also the operations and the communications that we have, not only from a marketing side, but also for every touch point we have across those customers. And when we look at that voice of customer, we really try to bring together these 3 pieces. So if we look at the triangle and the portion on the right, this is understanding what customers are saying to one another. So obviously in the consumer space, we get a lot of feedback there, but in work that we've done in B2B, we can actually see discussions around different technologies that are included in manufacturing, different aspects around delivery, and really understanding what customers are saying to each other through that social listening lens. And we like to then compare that with what we're telling our customers. So understanding what we're putting out there in terms of our website, understanding that this shift that we're going through where we're seeing the rise of these GPT-powered chatbots, and it's changing a little bit of the search calculus. How do we want to ensure that our messages are getting out there in a way that resonates not only with what we want to say, but also how that addresses different aspects that our customers are saying? And then finally, from that other piece is really looking at what our customers are telling us. So this can come through the customer care side. This can come through NPS surveys. This can also come by looking for what customers are searching for. So understanding by the different phrases that they're using and what we're seeing come through on the SEO side, how we can incorporate that into what we're telling customers from the SEM side, and how that relates to what they're speaking to one another about. So when we want to look at ways in which we can really approach those B2B customers and really understanding those personas. Because when we think about B2C, we can look at buyers. We have loyal buyers, we have conquest buyers. But from the B2B side, it really depends so much on those individual roles. And so when we dive into this is where this explosion of generative AI has really changed the landscape, because in general, AI is such a broad umbrella term. I often like to say that when we hear the term AI, we should think of it the same way that we hear the term science. We can be talking about space travel, or we can be talking about a student's baking soda volcano. Same thing with AI, because essentially an AI system is anything that mimics a human process, utilizes data to make decisions and act upon it. I like to say that we've all grown up with AI without realizing it, and I think about that as the thermostat on our house. I don't mean the smart thermostats we now control from our phones, but I set it to a certain temperature. When it falls a few degrees below that, it will turn on. When it goes above that, it turns off. It's replicating that process of how we would look at things, say, hey, I'm cold, I'm going to throw another log on the fire. It's getting a little too warm. I'm going to open the flue there. From the generative AI side, it is mimicking this process of sensory familiarity. So I was on vacation with my family last year. We walked into a grocery store. I suddenly knew that that grocery store would have the products I was looking for. It was an independent grocer, not a chain, but somehow the visuals within there, the way in which products were displayed, the sights, the smells, all of that triggered memories that I had about shopping, understanding that this was a retailer that had the things that I was looking for. What generative AI models do is they mimic that process, except they're basing it off of past training data and past knowledge. So as opposed to those sensory cues that I had walking into that store, we're looking at different keywords that are using. And from that, you're able to understand the relationship between whatever query we have coming in and all of this knowledge that we have. So that way, if we're looking to plan a trip to Jamaica, for instance, based on that, the generative AI solutions are going to use the attention weighting from the different keywords that we have, compare that against our knowledge, and that combination of trip and Jamaica is going to allow the large language models to pull results that are focused on the Caribbean island nation rather than Jamaica Queen. So it builds that familiarity and confidence, which allows us to retrieve that information and then to adapt and learn based on the information that we're getting back from that. And one way in which we've seen this really resonate is allowing organizations to customize AI. So if we look at all of the work that we've done under the years, we have all of this content, we know how well it performs, we've created personas, we have all of this in-depth information that we can then take and vectorize so that way, as we're looking to interact with it, be it through a chatbot or through a more programmatic nature, we're able to utilize this large base of knowledge to pull that information. So we can do this through retrieval augmented generation, where we're looking at a query and then it is taking all of that information that we have and saying basically kind of, in light of what we know, how would I answer this question? We can go on and do some fine tuning with models, because the great thing about these large language models is they work in a way that I always say would make our middle school English teachers proud. They start off with first this, second that, also that, in conclusion this. They are able to navigate the language and understand what that query is and how it relates to different aspects. But we don't want it to answer in a general way. So that's where we can use things like parametric efficient fine tuning or low rank adaptation to actually fine tune those models to make them specific to our brand voice and what we want to put forward to our customers. And so one way that we're seeing this start to emerge in the B2B landscape is this concept of utilizing custom GPTs. So we're familiar with the large language models that large organizations have, and are different ways to interact with those. Well, since we have all of this domain-specific expertise around not only the industry that we're working in, not only the way that we want to speak about whatever it is we're trying to deliver to that industry, but also understanding the individual personas of the different folks that are included in that sales process. So from this, we're able to take all of that information, use it to fine tune a GPT so that it creates something that will answer not only in the voice that we want to speak to that customer, but also understanding their needs, understanding their pain points. And this allows us to create a kind of always on focus group. So when we're looking to evaluate content that we're putting out, we're looking to evaluate our strategy, rather than actually needing to survey individuals, we can take those surveys, incorporate things that have been done into one of these AI chatbots to allow us to get this kind of real-time feedback and communication. So as we're building out our strategies, we're able to really target in on these individuals and really be able to really gain a competitive edge by being able to speak to customers in the way in which they need to be spoken to. And one of the benefits that we have with kind of the digital activation that Steve Group focuses on is we have the ability to create all of these different communications to customers. But one of the things that these custom GPTs also allow us to understand is when we need to take a step back so that we can make sure that our message resonates and that we understand when it's appropriate to be quiet, when it's appropriate to provide a gentle nudge, when it's appropriate to really lay out something extremely specific.
So just building on, just a real life example here, of everything Jonathan just described, like leveraging all of that sort of language models to really understand those B2B buyers. Here's an example of a client we worked with where they were really going for, multiple brands that they support, they've got in the marketplace, going from a fleet diagnostics to really fleet management. So more prescriptive action and helping customers understand things they need to do to better optimize their total cost of ownership across the life cycle of many hundreds of vehicles at one time. So they asked us to interview their customers and stakeholders to help inform those personas. And so we did that. We collected and mined verbatim user interviews across a wide variety of fleet managers who are their end customers, some owner operators, a different segment of customers, as well as dealership employees. Quite often in this B2B space, we see that, those distributors, dealers, they own a key piece of that customer relationship. So really including their voice in the persona development is really essential. So using all of that data, mining through it, we delivered personas and journey maps that really highlighted how that customer is using the technology, what's the problem that they're trying to solve, as well as their evolving needs, how their needs changed over time and where might their needs be 3 to 5 years from now. So using that, we developed a set of wireframes and a whole new portal really built from the personas ground up into a sitemap with content and information architecture and wireframes and user stories that then could feed ongoing product road mapping for the development of this portal. And then we're going to go to one more use case here around optimizing marketing content.
And so to me, this is a really exciting one because when we talk about that large umbrella of AI, we focused on the generative AI piece, but I like to think of it as falling into kind of 3 different revolutions that we've seen within AI. The first was the machine learning side. Second, along those lines, was computer vision, and then moving into kind of the generative AI space. And so from the computer vision technique, we are able to actually take a screenshot of a potential communication. We're able to say, okay, here's an email that we plan on sending out. This is the size of the audience that we have. And so based on that, we're able to take all of the different aspects, being able to extract the text that we have from that, being able to extract the specifics around the images. So not only what's shown, but all the different attributes that we have around that. We're able to use traditional machine learning techniques to score some of those pieces. And then the embedding engine allows us to actually vectorize all of these different components. And so that allows us then to not only look at that email and understand all of the metadata that's associated with it, we're able to then use AI in a programmatic way. So this isn't kind of the front-facing chatbot. This is taking those same concepts and putting them into a format to say, okay, based on everything that we've seen here and all the other work that's been done on the machine learning side, when we understand the expectations of our send audience, what our engagement's going to be, it allows us to say, all right, we're sending it to X number of customers. From that, we expect to have this many responses, this level of engagement, this level of conversion from that. And not only that, it's able to actually look across each of those different aspects within the emails. Because as we've embedded it and we have those vector embeddings, we're able to see the specifics around the image. So do we know that when we are showing a very specific view of a product or showing that product in action? From that, machine learning models will be able to weight those and say, oh, this is more likely to drive engagement, or this is a little bit less likely. Similarly, when we look at the content that we have here, we're scoring it not only across how well it fits into that persona's voice that we have, we're also able to look at each of the different aspects within there, score them for sentiment, score them for how they fit together, and then we're able to provide alternatives to that. So different things that may increase the sentiment or not. As we know, with any of these generative AI models, sometimes we look at the results and then we don't quite come back the way that we like. So this is still very much a augmented intelligence approach that we use. But this allows our creative teams to take something to evaluate it. So as they go through that process, before releasing it to strategy, before releasing it to the brands, we're able to get an expectation of what the response would be and different ways that we may be able to tweak that information. And this comes together once again by looking through some of those different aspects that we talked about with generative AI. We have kind of that triangular intersection then of what we're putting out for customers, what customers have told us based on the response that we've seen to kind of get that intersection from there. And then using these fine-tuning techniques, we're able to get that specific to the brand voice, specific to the audiences that we have. So now we're able to ensure that we have the proper brand voice, ensure that we're speaking in a way that resonates with our personas, ensure that the timing fits there. So that way we're able to bring in all of the things that are done around prescriptive analytics and propensity modeling to understand why we think these customers would be in market, what aspects allow them to be in market, and then to create this personalized next best action recommendations. And this is something that we love because a lot of the technological platforms that we work with allow you to kind of bring your own models and to integrate the things that are done elsewhere within the organization to empower these engines. So it allows us to create audiences, create content, bring that all together, and then either automate that process in a way that we're then allowing our strategy folks to make those decisions.
All right, and we'll wrap it here with one picture. Hopefully, tells is worth 1,000 words here, and bringing it all together. So we started with leveraging AI to really build a rich understanding of your B2B persona, and then we talked about how we can use AI to always listen to your customer, understand that voice of customer and their interaction with your content, and then how we leverage all of that together, your customers, the deep understanding of persona, together with the deep understanding of content interaction to create this advanced personalization recommendation engine. And here's an example of sort of taking left to right that process, working with an example customer here, first defining those personas. And, in B2B, again, here, it's not one buyer, it's the sort of like a household in consumer land. In B2B, we've got the buying committee, quite often we call it, everyone that's going to be involved in a large purchase decision. And we can see client capabilities here, like 4 different product or service offerings the client has, and sort of indexing which persona is interested in which ones. And then the role by the phase of the decision process, from awareness all the way through purchase and ongoing relationship repurchase. So then mapping those to really the topics that resonate, again, deep with the deep understanding of each persona and mapping those to the channels and optimize places to find those customers to get to a really optimized media mix and content messaging framework by persona, by journey stage over time. So that's just sort of one example of bringing it all together. I know we've covered a lot in a short time here, so I want to make sure we save time for questions here at the end.
Yeah, I think we can safely say you covered an extraordinary amount over the last 40 minutes or so. And I love seeing those examples where you really sort of pop the hood of the system, really, about how it actually works. The establishment of those personas, absolutely fascinating. I could listen to you all day, but then we wouldn't get the questions in, which would do a disservice to our audience. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I've had a few audience questions in which came in ahead of this webinar from people signed up. So I'll just run through a couple of those if I can quickly. Judging by the time, if we can keep these answers relatively punchy, I'll be very grateful. First question we had in is, this is a great question. What are the key challenges businesses might face when integrating AI into their existing customer experience strategies? The second part of that question is, how can you overcome those obstacles?
So I would say there's a framework that was put forward by Nigel Melville, who's a professor at the University of Michigan. And he sees three main ways in which organizations are using AI to change. One is individual productivity. We're all familiar with that. We have things that help us craft emails, that bring things together. Kind of the third side are really these foundational transformative models where you have something that's so unique that you need to train. The value that most organizations are seeing are figuring out how to implement these different aspects. So when we work with organizations, we really start out from the AI side on an AI readiness to understand what the pain points are in the system, how we can bring and integrate that information. And doing AI for the sake of AI is kind of pointless, right? If we can solve something with a percentage, we want to do that. We want to find the points where there is either a lot of human capital invested in something that we feel we can streamline, where there is a way really to focus in on understanding who your customers are. And that's, I think, the biggest change that we've seen is being able to segment our customers in such dynamic ways that we've never seen before, based on all of the feedback that we're gathering through how they're interacting with the different pieces of content.
Yeah, John, I'm just going to pick up on one thing you said there. It absolutely hits the nail on the head about AI for the sake of AI. And yeah, you see that absolutely across the board. It's got to have a measurable benefit, and that leads us on really nicely to this second question we've got here, and that's if either of you could provide any examples of how AI-driven insights have led to. Here we go. Measurable improvements in customer satisfaction and retention in the B2B context. Any great examples either of you have?
Yeah, I would jump in there. So satisfaction, is something that we measure as a baseline, satisfaction, net promoter score. So, using AI to, again, understand not just customer segmentation from what do they buy, but really those deep needs of what are they likely to add on if you're looking to cross-sell and grow the relationship, as well as what are they talking about their pain points as far as what their needs for solutions might be that the company hasn't even considered providing yet. So mining that voice of the customer to even drive product innovation cycles. We've seen that generate a 200 to 300% ROI fully invested. So measuring, the investment in data, the technology platforms, the marketing automation investment, as well as the people that are needed to make all that happen. Still seeing a 2 to 3x investment based on improving customer retention over a 2-year time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question, and this is another brilliant one. How do you go about making sure you have a consistent brand voice in AI-generated content? That's a brilliant question, because I think this does show the development and the progress of AI, because it is possible. Can you talk me through that?
Yeah, and that's where that fine tuning that we touched on a little bit really comes into play, because the value of a lot of these foundational models that exist that we can access through different platforms are being able to navigate through what a question is to that underlying intent. And so with that intent, we want to understand not only what that intent means for the consumer, but also what it means for the brand and how the brand can speak. one of the ways that we've really seen a huge impact for this is taking a look at all of the existing content that we have, focusing in on the personas and also focusing in on the channels. Because a brand that is speaking to customers through email that's going out through their CRM system is a different way than they're trying to do with their press releases and their earned media. So we start with a focus on the industry to ensure that we have the proper use of terminology within that industry. Then we focus in on that brand and what differentiates them from their competition so that we can make sure that any of the generated content leans into that. And then we specify that based on different channels. And, because we see it a lot more in the consumer facing space than in the B2B space, but with a lot of consumer brands on certain social media channels, they have a more flippant approach to things. And obviously, we don't see that in the B2B as much, but we do see different ways in which it allows consumers to engage. So finding kind of what those hooks are within a specific channel, layering that into the vertical and then the differentiators for the brand.
Yeah, and this is the stuff that really fascinates me. That work that goes on behind the scenes to make it seem so effortlessly when it comes out the other end. I know we are running out of time rapidly, and you're being incredibly generous with your time. But there's a couple of questions I do want to dip into before we wrap up. Right at the start of the presentation, we were talking a bit about the B2C, B2B differences that came up. A couple of questions on that, if I can. And how can AI help in personalizing the B2B customer experience? Given it's a lot of complexity and diversity of B2B relationships compared to B2C, how can AI help in that sort of area?
Yeah, I think, first understanding the decision process across a number of actors, both external, the customers, as well as potentially distributors, and internal actors, sales people, internal, solution engineers. First understanding who the actors are. And AI can really, build the interaction system that understands, complex interactions between defined actors with rich AI-driven personas, and even get to simulations of, let me see before I get this into market, how is this going to work with, given what I know about the persona, here's my test content. I think it's a potential huge money saver to automate, a lot of those experiments and get down from your 10 ideas to your 2 best ideas to put into market. So I really see it streamlining sort of that whole marketing pipeline of content, A/B and multivariate testing.
And one further point on the B2C, B2B comparison here. This question here is, what lessons have you learned in the B2C space that can apply in B2B? It's a great question.
So I think from the B2C side, as Steve touched on earlier, we have seen such an evolution towards personalization. And that's something that we still feel is lacking a little bit on the B2B side. Because when we think about the rationales behind action in B2B, as Steve outlined with kind of the different people that are part of the buying committee, it's understanding not only what they are trying to deliver for their organization, but also what is valuable to them career-wise. What are the things that will help them differentiate themselves within their organization and make this seem like a successful partnership that they have? So it's looking at that in the same lens that from the B2C side, we see, hey, we're trying to sell you running shoes, but we're not just giving you an app that shows you running shoes. We're giving you an app that helps you monitor your health and do all of these other things. Taking that concept in the B2B to say, okay, what is it about this person on the buying committee that they're really focused on? Are they focused on margin? Are they focused on increased access? What are those aspects so we can simultaneously serve the individual and the organization goal?
And if I can, one final question. Where is this one? This is a good one. Here we go. We use AI on the manufacturing side, but not the marketing side. Where would you suggest we start?
Great question. And I think that goes to, start by getting together a cross-functional team of your stakeholders, marketing, sales, engineering, and really map out, what are your top 3 use cases? If you think about your customers, where you can create value by making their shopping and buying process easier, making their ownership experience, more cost effective and seamless. Really get into that sort of that mindset of your customers and make sure you're taking a cross-functional approach so you can really create that organizational alignment around your top 3 use cases. And then just decide on your top 1 and go tackle that together. It's going to be fun and challenging. You'll run into the data pitfalls and your technology shortcomings. But that's, if you approach it with an experimentation and growth mindset, it's getting started on the journey and having sort of that North Star. So we really see that critical success factor to getting started.
Yeah, very exciting journey. Okay, I'm afraid that is all the time we have. I'm so sorry if there are any questions I didn't get round to. But I know a lot of people watch these webinars on lunch breaks, that kind of thing. And if we stop someone grabbing their lunch, then that would be a crime. And we would take that very personally. Jonathan, Steve, thank you so much for leading the discussion today. It's been absolutely fascinating. Don't forget the recording of this webinar will be available shortly, so you can come back, watch any bits again, or even share it with someone you think may find it useful. My thanks to our speakers, Jonathan and Steve. Really enjoyed your company. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome, and thank you everyone for watching. Bye for now.